Why should someone want to hire you? Isn't that the question? Is that not the question that every interviewer wants to know? Let's be honest, that's why they brought you in for an interview in the first place. They want to know, where have you or where can you increase productivity, efficiency, or performance? Employers want to hire people with pep. Now, what does the average person do when they go into an interview? The average person will go in, and when they're asked the question of, why should we want to hire you? They'll say something to the effect of, well, I'm hardworking, I'm detail oriented, I'm organized. Now, what are those things? They're fluffy adjectives. If you don't actually back up those statements with measurable results, specific evidence, or instances where you have increased productivity, efficiency, or performance, you're not going to be memorable. And that's what it takes to get hired. Be memorable in a positive way. So, how could you enhance those answers? Let's take the list we were dealing with earlier. I would start by writing down your top 5 attributes, those very same fluffy adjectives that we were just talking about. Hardworking, detail-oriented, organized, team player, whatever else comes to mind or whatever is relevant to you. So write those 5 things down on a piece of paper. Once you've done that, then come up with a time or an occasion or a specific piece of evidence of where that was true. For example, you might want to say, well, Mr. Employer, I'm extremely hardworking. A perfect example of that was a few weeks ago. I was supposed to go home. It was 5 o'clock. I had dinner plans with my family, but there was a rush project that came in and nobody else was available. So I was able to reschedule and told my family I'd be home later, and I was able to stay until midnight that night and get the project done. So that is a specific piece of evidence that would substantiate your increasing productivity as well as your willingness to be hardworking. Now, my favorite part about this question, why should we want to hire you, is that sometimes the question doesn't get asked. So I encourage you to use those 5 talking points that I just gave you of the words that you've chosen to describe yourself, followed by the evidence or examples that we just mentioned, and pepper those throughout the interview. So let me give you an example. Sometimes a person might not specifically ask that direct of a question, but you'll get asked a million other similar questions in an interview. Give me an example of a success or of an achievement. All of these are similar examples where you can block and bridge over to one of your pre-planned talking points. Perfect example is if an employer even asks you an opening question, how was your drive over here? Not even related to why they should want to hire you. You could then say, well, Mr. Employer, when I was on my drive over here, I have to be honest, I had butterflies in my stomach, like the first time I started at my last job. But by the end of that first week, my boss said I was the most hardworking person he had ever met because I worked 10 hours of overtime in that first week. And so I always get giddy with excitement when I go in to look at a new position because I know I can contribute and be part of a team. I'm JHill, and thank you for tuning in.